What a difference an election cycle makes. What a difference an election cycle makes. It is said that elections have consequences. They're not just innocuous things. They actually have real material weight to the things that are going to take place after those elections, depending upon whether or not there's a change in leadership. Representative government is an odd thing. This is not a situation where you have an open conflict where one side dramatically and after great effort takes over and implements the rules and policies and everything else in this kind of brutal change. It is a willful subjugation of self under the rule of law. And in doing so, however, within those bounds, take war to a lesser plane and allow each other to go after one another with this idea of trying to pull public and mass support to particular cause. In an odd way, that can be gamed in a way where you're not trying to get mass support, you're just trying to be least worse, which is an odd curvature of where a biopolitical arc. Take a look at this. This was back in February. Mitt Romney. Thank you, Mr. President, for your support. I hope that over the course of the campaign, I also earned the support and the endorsement of the people of Utah. But that first part, groveling for Donald Trump, thanking him on his knees. Thank you, Mr. President, for your support. He seems pleased as punch to take Donald Trump's endorsement. Well, this is Mitt Romney today, penning an op-ed attacking that same scathing attack on the president. The president shapes the public character of the nation. Donald Trump's character falls short. What a difference a few months make. Thank you, Mr. President. That president falls short of public character. Did Mitt Romney not know that when Mitt Romney was trying to get Donald Trump's endorsement? This op-ed is brutal and scathing, and I'm just going to read a few parts of it, and then I want to talk about what this means. The fact that this happened is one thing. What it means, the weight, the gravity, how it shapes reality is something a little bit different, and that's the part that's interesting and the reason why I want to talk about this piece. It is well known that Donald Trump was not my choice for Republican presidential nomination. After he became the nominee, I hoped his campaign would refrain from resentment and name-calling. It did not. When he won the election, I hope he would rise to the occasion. His early appointments, Rex Tillerson, Jeff Sessions, Nikki Haley, Gary Cohn, McMaster, Kelly and Mattis were encouraging, but on balance, his conduct over the past 2 years, particularly his actions last month, is evidence that the president has not risen to the mantle of the office. He is unbefitting of the office. That's amazing. Let's keep going. To a great degree, the presidency shapes the public character of a nation. A president should unite us and inspire us to follow our better angels. A president should demonstrate the essential qualities of honesty, integrity, and elevate the national discourse with comedy and mutual respect. As a nation, we have been blessed with presidents who have called on the greatness of American spirit. With a nation so divided, I hate this phony political language. I hate this language. Tell me what you mean and tell me what you're trying to say. I don't like the hiding within the spaces of the words to where you can read a whole paragraph and have no idea what the hell the person is talking about. You almost have to feel the spirit of what the person is saying because the specifics of it gets eluded, but that is writing in that way on purpose. And it's province where incumbent shortfall has been glaring, essentially Donald Trump's. So he goes into how the world is watching, how the world questions whether or not America was going to do the right thing, and then after Trump's office, it goes down to like 16%, some insane number. Right here. I look forward to working on these priorities with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and other senators. Furthermore, I will act as I would with any president in or out of my party. I will support policies that I believe are in the best interest of the country and my state and oppose those that are not. I do not intend to comment on every tweet or fault, but I will speak out against the significant statements or actions that are divisive, racist, sexist, anti-immigrant, dishonest, or destructive to the democratic institutions. Romney wrote this on day one, January 1st. Hello, Mr. President. Now, there was a guy who was talking about this, and he started calling Romney some pretty bad names, calling him a turncoat and all this other stuff. But what does this mean? Romney is going to take place into the Senate. Romney is not going to have to go to another election for what? Another 6 years, another 6 years. So there's a certain distance between Romney and the presidential space, or his election space. So that's the first point. Meaning he doesn't have to deal with the consequences of what he does right now for another 6 years. The second part to that is weakness. There's a sensing of weakness of the president himself. Now, what I mean by that is Donald Trump losing those seats to the Democratic Party, and in much of that, it wasn't that the Democrats was putting this kind of new policy initiative. Some were, but the party itself remained the party itself. They were winning off of the grossness of Trump, meaning this fear that was ever present prior when Donald Trump first got elected, and all of them needed his endorsement. All of them wanted his endorsement. All of them was terrified that he wouldn't get the endorsement. That lessened the moment that Trump lost. And not just the moment that Trump lost, the moment that they could look at the polls and say, okay, this president is to some degree unpopular. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're talking about a presidential matchup versus somebody else, I don't know who the somebody else is. It kind of depends, but you get a different number on whether or not Trump is popular or not. But looking at the losses, they feel that there's weakness there. And Romney apparently is trying to position himself as an alternative. Now, the fact of the matter is, if Romney was in that office, from a policy standpoint, Romney would be doing pretty much the same thing. And they even praised the president for passing legislation that essentially benefits the top 1%. But tone, like not necessarily policy, but tone. So yes, we're going to kill a lot of people with our foreign policy, but you need to speak about that in hushed tones. Yeah, it's tone. Donald Trump says things in a blistering way, in a different way than somebody like a Mitt Romney will say them, even though they will be doing, for the most part, the same thing. So come on. Romney is doing this to provide an alternative. Now, I would imagine there will be people who would accrue around him. I don't know if Romney is talking about taking Donald Trump on for a presidential bid in the same way he's kind of arching and positioning himself as a primary challenge. That's unclear. I suspect not, but I'm not sure. There's no way to know. But he wouldn't have put this out in the Washington Post like this if it wasn't meant to get attention and if it wasn't meant to send a shot across the bow. He wrote this knowing full well that he was creating an opposition to Donald Trump. So, just saying, there's politics all over this part, even in the dramatic way in which it was released. So, all right, I'm not going to keep this. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks all.